this was one of the five best drama series of the year for me. I did really enjoy it. So, of course, it's based off that podcast, too, that is pretty popular. So that also helped it as well. All right, so Julia Roberts not returning to Homecoming Season 2. So this one's from The Hollywood Reporter. It's official. Julia Roberts' time in front of the camera on Amazon's Homecoming has come to an end. Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that Roberts' initial deal for Homecoming was only for a one-season commitment based purely on the drama's creative storyline. That said, Roberts will still remain involved as an executive producer alongside showrunner Sam Esmail on the series that originally landed at Amazon with a two-season commitment. So they knew that they were going to be getting 2 seasons of the show, but Julia Roberts only signed a 1-season commitment. So it's kind of important, too, to know that, because it's not like this is a huge surprise where she's leaving her contract, right? Her contract was only for 1 season up front. It's unclear if there will be any other major cast departures for Season 2, or if any other freshman stars, including Stephen James, Bobby Cannavale, Shea Wiggum, and Alex Karpovsky and Sissy Spacek will return. In the podcast version of the story, Heidi spends the entire second season searching in vain for Walter, played by Stephen James, of course. Seeing as the Amazon adaptation already concluded Heidi's search for Walter in Season 1, it seems her story now is truly at its end. And then this is a quote from Sam Esmail, really important here. We've deviated from very much of the podcast, so Season 2 of the podcast doesn't really have anything to do with the way the show is going. We're working on a second season, but we have a very different trajectory for our show. I think when I signed on, I'd only listened to the first 6 episodes of the podcast, which is the first season. And then from there, we deviated completely. So that's interesting there. The show starts out fairly close to the podcast, and in the back half of the first season, we really start to see the major shifts and differences from the podcast, and that's what Esmail had to say. So, interesting news here. Right off the bat, like, just on the surface of things, Julia Roberts not returning to Homecoming Season 2. It's like, well, that's kind of a big deal, but if you look more into this, I think, not everyone is, but if you look more into this, it makes a lot of sense. Watching Season 1, yeah, they kind of tied up her story, but I definitely could have seen her coming back for a second season, and her story still evolving here. And with this news, I don't doubt that Stephen James will also be, not returning for Season 2, because I don't know how you can have kind of his storyline in there without Heidi. Without Julia Roberts' character. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Bobby Cannavale is definitely going to be there in Season 2. I really did enjoy his performance, actually, in Season 1. I think it was a little underrated compared to, of course, Stephen James and Julia Roberts, who did an amazing job. Stephen James, really great performance as well. Even him, I don't think he gets talked about enough. But anyway, so it's going to be interesting to see where they go with Season 2. As Esmail says, they pretty much what does he say exactly? Deviated completely for the second season. So any listeners of the podcast and this original story will not probably have any idea where they're going to go for Season 2. It's going to be a whole new story. And even, the second half of Season 1 was even a whole new story type of thing that they were going with. So it's going to be interesting, again, to see what are we going to see in Season 2. Without Julia Roberts there, probably without Stephen James there. So it's definitely going to be a different story, and it's going to be, the focus is going to be, a little bit altered, for sure, because of those 2 cast members being gone and their stories kind of being wrapped up with Season 1. So I think it was satisfying enough to see, that the end of Heidi's story in Season 1, but I think, again, you definitely could have had, the window was still open to see her in the second season, but we're not going to now. So, of course, she's still going to be involved in the show, as it states. Her and Sam Esmail, I think, have a pretty good relationship. And so, I mean, I think in the article they speculated whether she would be returning still, maybe as a guest appearance or something. I wouldn't think so. I think if it's kind of all or nothing. I think she's either in it or she's not. I don't think we're going to see a guest appearance, but I could be totally wrong. It depends. It also depends on if they're going for a third season or not, because we'll have to see, maybe she comes back in a Season 3, or maybe she comes back at the end of the second season to explore another story about her and how this whole thing's connected. So Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. If you watch Homecoming season 1, were you satisfied with the ending to her character? And now, what is your thoughts then on her not going to be in season 2? She's not going to be returning. So, just interesting stuff. Again, on the surface, I think this was huge news and kind of, controversial, but if you really look into it, it makes a lot of sense. And especially given that she only ever signed a one-season commitment at the beginning. It's not like she's, violating her contract or anything like that. That's all her contract had to begin with.